Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a special episode of today's Odd One Out. We are going to change things up, give something else a different shot, just for fun, a little change of pace. We're going to be watching our sweet daughter play, enjoy her time over here, enjoy our family time, and I will be interviewing Ashlee. It's going to be a very free-flowing interview. I don't have any questions lined up, as per usual for me, my style. Today, however, I have to mention, today is Memorial Day. It's a very sacred day. It's a somber day. And I want to acknowledge that. And it's funny, I was actually just watching a YouTube video last night, listening to it whenever I was out working. And it's by a YouTuber named Mr. Beat. Shout out Mr. Beat. He puts out a lot of really cool history videos. And what do you want me to do, right? You want me to ride the stick course? Anyways, people, I'm going off camera and I'm still talking. It was a video by Mr. Beat, and he was talking about the Forgotten War, which is the Korean War. And it was just good timing. It goes to show the sacrifices that American soldiers have made. It's a very, like I said, it's a somber day. There have been a lot of soldiers that have died for our freedom and our ability to make a YouTube video like we are today. Very important. I've got family that served. I know you've got family that served. And I'm going to keep on getting dragged off camera because my little girl wants me to do stuff. So
we just wanted to say thank you to those who have served, and today is about them and those who have lost their lives.
Yes.
Serving the country. So
I could make a great dig at Trump for the most disgraceful Memorial Day post I've ever seen in my life, where he didn't even mention anything about the soldiers, and he said Happy Memorial Day, which is very distasteful, and went on to talk about the scum that are the Democrats. So we'll save that for another time. Probably not even worth our energy, for being honest. Are we shocked?
no, because I was going to say it was just him making it about himself and a way, like you said, to take a dig at the Democrats or people who don't agree with him, and instead of it being about Memorial Day, everything's about him. And no, I'm not shocked. So
yeah. Let me go ahead and mid-video make sure that the mic is at the volume it needs to be. Looks like it is. You probably just heard me very loudly. So, anyways, let's get off to this little interview. Ashlee, you are a mother.
yes.
You have.
And also, I'm sorry, my allergies are bothering me today.
My eyes are really puffy. It's kind of just a thing. Looks like our daughter is taking an interest to the microphone. But why don't you tell me, speaking of our daughter, what it means to you to be a mom?
Oh my gosh. That's honestly a very good question, and it's kind of hard to put into words. Honestly, it means everything. She is everything to me. I always knew that I wanted to have kids, but now that I have her, I always knew I wanted to have kids, but it wasn't that I just wanted to be a mom. Like I had a lot of other aspirations as well. Like that wasn't like my number one thing, if that makes sense. But now that I am a mom, I feel like it's truly my purpose. I think now that I'm her mom, it's my purpose. She's my everything. It's my most important job, and my most favorite job is being her mom.
And so I know you've always leaned left. You haven't always been political, but whenever you became political, you've certainly always leaned left. Do you feel like she affects your politics at all?
Oh, for sure. Just because I've been engaged with politics since the 2016 election. That's when I started paying attention, and since then I've been engaged and paid attention. But being a mom, I think, makes me even more passionate about it. I don't really feel that any of my views have changed. I already felt the way that I feel about, certain issues, but I think it just makes me more passionate, and it made me, instead of just sharing stuff on Facebook, it made me actually want to get up and take action and do things. So I would say that's probably what changed, is me actually taking more action, because it has just made it more important to me.
And don't you feel like this is probably something that a lot of people share? It changes you whenever you become a parent, right? And there are probably a lot of struggles that come with it, and a lot of joy, but it kind of gives you probably maybe a little bit of understanding and feeling of what the issues that families face, such as caring about what's being taught in public schools, healthcare for the kids. Say you're a mom that's needing assistance financially, and Medicaid, the importance of that. I'm sure having a kid has certainly changed not your stance on values, but how important these things are to you.
100%.
Yeah. So I do think that's really relevant in a time like this, whenever we every single day are discussing the implications of funding Medicaid, funding SNAP benefits, and the like. So what message do you think it'll send to American families specifically, if the leaders of America refuse to fund things like Medicaid and other benefits such as that? What do you think that'll send to the American families? What kind of message?
To me, the message that it sends is that they don't care about the average American family, or the American family that is struggling maybe more than others. To me, that's the message it sends. Unfortunately, I think there are people who have been sold some lies that's not actually what's happening, that these things aren't being cut. Unfortunately, people who are on these programs are going to find out that is going to happen. I don't really know what other message it sends, other than their priorities are way out of line and they do not care about American families.
Do you feel like your understanding of being a mother and the struggles that come with it give you empathy towards other families that may be going through the same kind of challenges?
For sure. I do think, even if I wasn't a mom, though, as a nurse, I've seen so much as far as I work in and have worked my whole nursing career in women's health. So I just, even from that, it isn't important to me. But yes, as a mom, I think I can personally relate more.
Well, and speaking of empathy, do you think that's a problem that we as Americans face, is a sort of lack of empathy problem?
Oh, for sure. I think that, I hate to put it as this side or that side, but I think it's very obvious which side right now is lacking empathy, because people who are cheering about these cuts to Medicaid and people's health care, you clearly lack empathy.
Yeah.
And I think some people, they might, eventually come around only when these issues affect them. Which, if that's what it, takes for you to see the light, that it is what it is. But, there are some of us who have, like I said, even if I wasn't a mom, I would feel for these families. And yes, I think a lot of people lack that.
So you say, it's unfortunate that it's like a this side versus that side kind of thing. One of the interesting things about this tax bill that contains cuts to Medicaid is that they don't kick off until 2028. And there's a lot of feeling about that it's going to be essentially the Republicans are going to be like, see, we passed this tax bill in 2025, have you felt anything? And when say the Democrats do take over in 2028 as far as the presidential office,
right,
it will be something where they can say, do you see, you didn't have any problems with us, and now they've taken power, and you are losing your Medicaid. How do you go ahead?
No, go ahead.
how do you feel about the politicization of these family struggles, such as just being able to have health care?
Well, I was gonna just say, I think that's why it's important to pay attention and be educated about what's going on and what is in these bills, because that's how they trick people. And so that's just what came to my mind, was that's why it's important to pay attention, because we who are paying attention right now, we know good and well that if a Democrat takes office or if the Democrats are in office in 20, whatever, we know that this didn't come from them, this came from right now.
Mm-hmm.
But some people, they'll just believe anything they see on Facebook, and they'll believe whatever is sold when this actually goes, into effect.
Yeah, I agree. That is definitely important as we shake from our daughter making an earthquake over here. I do think it's important that people pay attention for sure. Kind of just a change of subject here to something kind of random.
Okay.
So I was just now thinking about the influence that men have, because we were just talking about women's issues.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I think about, we both watch independent media, we both enjoy independent media. We both still take in, and especially speaking for myself, I know that she definitely gets, a little bit of a dose of CNN and MSNBC and some other, mainstream left-wing outlets, but she gets a lot of independent media as well. Me specifically, I get almost exclusively independent media. Actually, the mainstream I watch is a lot of Fox News, because I want to know what the other side is saying. But all that being said, when I think of all these figures in independent media, whether you want to go on the right and talk about Benny Johnson, or Charlie Kirk, or Ben Shapiro, or if you want to jump on the left and you want to talk about Brian Tyler Cohen, so many others. I'm Tim Miller. I'm kind of just fumbling for names right now. Kyle Kalinske. Shout out Kyle Kalinske. You're my favorite right now. That and Brian Tyler Cohen. I can't pick. Regardless, if you just notice, all I did was name off male figures.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like we're lacking female voices in independent media. I feel like there are plenty of female voices in mainstream media. We have lots of anchors that are females. But what do you think? Why do you think it is that we don't have? And this is a tough question to answer, admittedly. Why do you think we're lacking that female presence, and what do you think it would take for the female presence to become a thing?
That is a good question. Like you said, I don't, look as much with independent media as you do. So I would like to look into and see if there are women, and maybe with you being a man, maybe your algorithm only is showing you men.
Perhaps.
So that's something I would want to look into. But if the answer is that there's not many women, part of me wonders if maybe it's an issue. And not every woman is a mom, but I know for me and you, both being parents, it's hard for us to keep up with these videos. So I wonder if there are women who want to do something like this, and they're moms, maybe they don't have as much time. I feel like that could be a big one.
I think so.
What was the other part of your question?
And
What would it take to get?
yes. Which could be a really deep issue.
Mm-hmm. If time is the issue, then it would take, support for that woman to be able to do something like. And I'm not saying that you can't if you're a mom. That's just the first reason that popped into my head, because I know for us it's hard to find the time. So I'm not saying that, but.
You think there's like a cultural thing going on there too, though?
Oh, for sure. I think our country still has a huge patriarchy issue, and don't take this as me bashing men. I'm just saying men and women, we aren't equal in society. We've come a long way. Women, we have, all the same rights as men. Well, aside from the right to make decisions for our own bodies, but we can maybe talk about that later. Overall, we have the same rights, but yes, there's an issue with the patriarchy. And I also think that people don't want to listen to women. So even if there are women out there trying to do this, they might not be getting as many views, or they might not be as popular, because I can at least tell you how I feel trying to do my activism. Sometimes it gets very difficult to want to keep going because I don't feel like people are listening.
Yeah. And
I don't know if that's because I'm a woman, but I do think that in this country people don't listen to it.
Yeah, and I mean, independent outlets that I know of that do have women. There's one channel called. You were getting into it over there, aren't you? The ice cream stand. There's one channel called Fed Up that has two different women that are on the left, and Kyle Kalinski's wife has a pretty big name as well. I hope you can hear me out there, YouTube video. And I ain't stopping her. She's having the time of her life, and it's a good time. And this just goes to show. You talk about the popularity. I know of another channel too that has two different doctors, medical doctors, because got to clarify nowadays that not every doctor is a medical doctor, just so y'all know. Donald Jr., I hope you realize that. I don't think you do. But
I think he does. I think that's another issue. I think that was him trying to insult her because he doesn't like an educated woman. He knows good and well that she's not a medical doctor.
Yeah.
And he was just taking a jab at her. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and and it could be, I'm able to name, I just did earlier, I'm able to name several right-wing commentators that are independent media that are male. I struggle to find many women. I do know one that Adam Mockler has debated before, but it definitely does seem to be something where whether it's just coincidence that not a bunch of women are doing it, or there are definitely women participating that are just not having their voices heard. I personally, if I do insert myself into this interview, think it is a cultural thing. It's insane the level of the Joe Rogans that really run the headlines, and the left is trying to find their own Joe Rogan. They're open about it. They just had a meeting with the DNC chair speaking about spending billions with a B, on finding, promoting, and producing the left's Joe Rogan. And the left's Joe Rogan, by the way, used to be Joe Rogan. But it definitely is something that is very interesting in our culture today. So I feel like there's also not a strong voice for women within Congress as well. And I know that you want to run. I'm not going to pretend for the video's sake that, do you want to run someday? I know that you want to, have your voice in politics someday. What would be, I'll just limit you to just two. What would be your top two issues that you would want to push for when it would come for you running for any kind of position?
So let me first say, does it pique my interest to run? Yes. I'm not like fully sold. Yes, I'm gonna.
This is not a big announcement video, just so you know.
Because I don't know if I can get more work done doing like my activism work, or if I could do more, running. So it is a thought in my mind, but I don't know, for sure. That's a good question though. If I were to choose just two issues that I would want to do something on.
Yes.
A big one for me, and everyone's gonna think this is controversial. I don't think this is anything that should be controversial, but gun violence. That is probably the first issue for me that I really felt passionate about, and then I kept learning more about other issues and found where I fit politically based on that. But I won't go into the whole story. I have lost a family member to gun violence though, so that is why it has always been an important issue for me. And then also just seeing the problem it has become in our country with school shootings. And it's just baffling to me all of the all of the things that we see bills on that don't even matter, no one even asked for.
What about the
But,
litter boxes in the bathrooms, Bill?
I mean, like,
Yeah.
I would rather. First of all, that's not happening.
It's not happening. It's the biggest urban legend of the last
But
10 years.
call me crazy. I'd rather there be a litter box at school than a
Dead
ton.
children?
Yes.
Shocking and profound. I apologize.
No,
If I
go
can-
ahead.
If I can quickly insert myself, I'm actually a proponent of the Second Amendment. I actually side with it too, though. I don't know. I'm not going to put words in your mouth on how you'd ever word yourself in a stance, but I am actually heavy Second Amendment, but not in the way that the conservatives are. I am heavy in the right to own a firearm, but I want responsible, common sense gun ownership. The Second Amendment, along with the rest of the Bill of Rights, was written at a time whenever the most advanced firearm was a musket that was wildly inaccurate, even from 50 to 100 yards was wildly inaccurate. It could fire 1 to 2 rounds per minute. And so it was obviously designed, the amendment was written at a time when you didn't have semi-automatic rifles that can basically go fully automatic with a bump stock, for example. Extended magazines where you could fire, dozens of rounds per minute. From 200, 300 yards, really good accuracy. And if you want, that's just talking about rifles. We can get into other firearms that are even more accurate, can fire even faster, can cause even more damage. So I am actually a big proponent of the Second Amendment, but I'm just as big a proponent of common sense gun legislation. So I had to insert myself right there.
No, that's okay. And I mean, I wouldn't say I don't care about this the Second Amendment, but I realize that it's not realistic. We would never be able to take everyone's guns away, regardless. Like, it's just, I'm smart enough to know that that's just not realistic. And I do recognize that there are people who own guns that are responsible. So I can understand the view that they shouldn't have that right taken away from them. But I will say, and I've said this before, that I think we have so many other rights that gun violence is taking away from us. And so I don't think that your Second Amendment right is more important than every other right that we have, including our right. I mean, this might not be explicitly written, but I would say we all have the right to live. I feel like that's just a basic understood right, and my right to live is not less important than your Second Amendment right. So that's kind of how I feel about that.
Yeah, I think your right to live is explicitly spelled out with murder being a crime. So, good point.
And then, and as far as what we would do, I mean, I don't have like policies written up, but I think that should be a top issue, and I don't understand why it's not. As far as something else I would want to do, this was a hard question. It's hard to pick.
There's a lot to choose from.
But I would want, of course, important to me are things we've talked about, which is just something. And I would support policies that would make things easier on families, specifically moms, but families. So whether that be trying to get childcare to be more affordable, whether that be helping people keep their health care, I would say issues that impact moms, children, families, that would be like a big thing for me as well.
Good. I feel like I poked and prodded a decent amount for, a relatively short-ish video. I thought one fun way to close this out, because it's Memorial Day, we both have really unique stories. Yours especially, very unique story about your family member who was in the military.
I didn't know you were going to ask me to share this.
Yes, I think you should briefly tell us the coolest military story I think I've ever heard.
Sure, yes. And this isn't, my only, I believe that I have other I know I had other family members who served, but yes, this is a very cool story. So my great grandfather, so this was my grandma on my mom's side. This was her dad. He was in the Navy, and he was there when Pearl Harbor happened. And he was missing in action after that happened, and they thought he had died. They had a funeral for him. They were going to name, he was from Tulsa, went to Webster High School in Tulsa. They were going to name the football stadium after him. He was a football player. Like I said, they had a funeral. They thought that he was gone. But eventually he came back. They found him. I've never heard the part of like where he is. From what my mom has told me, like he didn't ever like talk about it or tell anyone where he was. But yeah, he was missing in action. He came back. They didn't end up naming the football stadium after him. Just as just a side note, but yeah. So that was my great grandpa, Louis Albert Hayes.
I love that name. That's a pretty cool one, Louis. Yeah, that is a very cool story. So for me, mine's more of a comical one. Sorry, I'm off camera a little bit. My grandfather, he was deployed to the Korean War. He was deployed as soon as it ended. So as soon as he landed, the war was over. So he's always said, the war ended because they knew I was coming. So that's really just that's literally it. Or I have also my mom's dad, who I never met. He served in World War II from, I think he was serving in World War II for all years of the conflict. I think from 1941 is when the U.S. joined all the way through 1945. He served the whole way. He never had a wound. And then when he got home, he went hunting, and he was crossing a barbed wire fence with a loaded shotgun, and that's like a famous saying apparently is don't ever cross a fence with a loaded gun. And he shot his leg off with the shotgun by accident.
Oh gosh.
So.
Did you have more of that story?
That's pretty much it. Just
okay.
the craziness of that.
Well, I was just, since we were talking about it and I see it right there, I was just gonna show. My daughter my mom saved some of my old Build-A-Bears from when I was a kid, and now my daughter plays with them. This one, I don't know where his pants went, but...
Or his hat.
His hat's over here. This one, that's why I made him a little sailor, and his name is Louis, was because of my grandpa.
That's a cool story.
That's Louis, and... Yep, that's why I made a little sailor bear.
Louie. Okay, well, I really appreciate you letting me interview on the fly. I'm very just all over the place. That's not her. She's usually more structured and kind of navigates right through the way, which is why she's really good to have on the show to help me and for me to help her too. We both really help each other. That's why we're a really good team. But anyways,
you had good questions, I thought.
I appreciate it.
Could I share something?
No. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
I just wanted to briefly share, because you said, and this isn't not true, but you said that I've always leaned left, and that is accurate. But I did just want to share that, like we kind of said, I did not pay attention, was not involved in politics until 2016. When I turned 18, I didn't register to vote. I didn't, vote in the first presidential election that I could have, wasn't registered to vote all through college. I was not informed, knew nothing about it. But I did know that I was passionate about gun violence and, things like that. But I had no idea what party supported what, knew nothing about it. Then 2016 came around, and I just could not understand why people were supporting Donald Trump. I truly, as J.D. Vance once said, which we've now we see is not true, but I truly am a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump gal. So that's when I first began paying attention to politics. But I will tell you, I didn't just go and register immediately Democrat. I watched the Republican National Convention, the Democratic National Convention. I found a test online where it asks you your views on different issues, and it'll kind of tell you where you lean. So I just wanted to share that I am informed, and I did make an informed decision when registering with my party, and I just kind of wanted to share the story of how my political engagement came to be.
Yeah. No, and I think that's how people should approach it, and people should constantly reassess.
Yeah.
The parties are always changing.
For sure.
I think that we both can happily say that we would both vote for a Republican if that was the best candidate, and they reflected our values.
Mm-hmm.
Now that will never be a MAGA, because MAGA is not the same.
Yeah, that's a long ways off.
Yes. MAGA is not the traditional Republican Party, of which I have a lot of respect for. I'm a big believer of left-wing issues, and but I won't ever scoff at somebody, for example, say is fiscally conservative. She got the puzzle pieces stuck on her feet. That's funny.
There you go.
So, for example, we both love Oklahoma City's Mayor Holt. I constantly say I wish that he would save us and run for governor. As she points out, that's probably not going to happen. We are more than happy to back Cindy Munson, who we went and saw, who was very impressive. But anyways, yeah, right there. We were there. Cindy Munson, keep an eye out for her.
But yes, to your point, Governor Holt of Oklahoma City, he's a Republican, but he's very moderate, and he works well with both sides, and he says all of the time that's how he's gotten so much done in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and we need more politicians like that. So that is all of the video. I really appreciate your time again. That was a good interview.
Thank you.
The tables will turn at some point. We have lots of content to cover. I know we've been kind of MIA, so life goes. But we really appreciate you tuning in, especially if you happen to watch this long, which I don't blame you if you didn't. But then again, you wouldn't be hearing me right now if you didn't, and if you did, awesome. So thank you once again for tuning in. Remember what today's about. Remember today is about those who have died for our freedom, to make YouTube videos, to go walk in Walmart in a Buc-ee's onesie, and to do very serious things too, such as like take care of your family without having to worry about being oppressed, without, so don't take this day for granted. When you see veterans, thank them for their service, because they put their life on the line. There was no guarantee when they signed up what was going to happen, especially those who have served, in combat. You just can't thank them enough. Always thank your veterans. Be appreciative. So, thank you for tuning in today. We look forward to seeing you the next time. Odd one out.
And
Thunder up, baby! Game 4, baby!